So you complain about the TCG, you leave the TCG, you come to Duel Links, and then you complain about Duel Links. What do you enjoy, Farfa? So as an avid TCG player and someone who's played the TCG intensely for the last half decade or so, I decided to give Duel Links a try just because of the way the game is going right now in the TCG, which is not very great. Firewall Effecto? Cannon Soldier Effect? Oh, your life points at 0? Finish your phase. So general review here, I'm going to basically break down a couple of things that I really don't like about Duel Links, but a lot of things that I do love about Duel Links. This is probably going to be built down into multiple sections. We're going to talk about like some of the currencies in the game, talk about PvE, talk about PvP, talk about the way you obtain decks, talk about the pay to win aspect of it, and looking at some of the positives and negatives overall. So just before I begin this, and I stretch out the 10 minutes as long as possible for the best way for me to review and define this is that Duel Links is a great game that's hidden behind an immensely large paywall. If you aren't willing to dump literally hundreds into Duel Links, then it's going to be a very frustrating experience. So starting off with some of the positives that I think don't go into any one section or category, there's no firewall, so that's always a positive. Reason number 2, there's no firewall. God, I love Duel Links. Alright, video's over, guys. See you later, and comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, so overall, what we can see from Duel Links is that the game is a lot slower in the sense that because of no main phase 2, you aren't able to main phase 1, make some combos, battle phase, clear your opponent's board, and then continue to make combos depending on the result of that battle phase, which is something that's very incremental to Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies. No main phase 2 basically means that you're going to have to be setting cards. First and foremost, like quick plays, you have to make a decision. Do I want to use this quick play this battle phase, or do I want to set it for their turn, etc., etc. You start with 4 cards. Most archetypes in the Duel Links are very, very bad in the TCG, but they're great in Duel Links. So it just goes to show you how like far behind almost the power creep is, although there have been some silly decks in recent years, I believe, and some decks even today are like very, very like combo based and stuff. Like Vampires, for example, I can completely understand why that deck is extremely, extremely powerful. But overall, I think the game is great, and there hasn't been super unhealthy, crazy, dumb strategies. I heard Amazoness Endless Hell Odeon is like terrible. But generally, it's a very diverse format. It's a very sort of open format. And once you hit Legend and try to get that King of Games rush, there are quite a decent amount of viable options. Free-to-play players generally go for Blue Eyes as the cheapest, and lots of Blue Eyes players do make it to King of Games. Of course, lots of Vampire players currently. Spellbooks make it there. Heroes make it there. And I believe someone even did it with Dragunity recently with the new set release. Shoutouts to Phoenix Flare. Congratulations on getting a world first Dragunity, question mark. Basically, everything that I can say that's great about Duel Links is the gameplay. I don't have many criticisms about the gameplay of Duel Links, which is great from a video game because most of the video game is gameplay, right? So that's good. I generally really enjoy most of the gameplay of Duel Links. You can't really go wrong there. Oh boy, let's get into the things that suck about Duel Links. Oh, you're great at this, Farfa, aren't you? You're gonna dissect this. You're gonna stretch out the time for 10 minutes. It's gonna be great. Okay, let's begin. All right, first thing that struck out at me. I did play Duel Links, by the way, a long time ago when it first came out, but literally for like 3 days or something, and then I just gave up because pay to win. The biggest thing that struck me was the interface. The HUD interface, whatever you want to call it, is dreadful. Is so even today after playing, like, I don't know, how many hours do I have invested in it? Probably like 80 hours or something invested into the game now. And it's so bad. It's genuinely the worst interface in any game I've ever seen ever. I think most mobile games have crappy interfaces, but I'm not a mobile gamer, so I can't really comment on that. But it's so terrible. Navigating around the world is dreadful. I think they tried to give it this JRPG feel. It's a fail. Yep, it's a fail. But overall, for me, it doesn't really work that well. Copying a deck is it's the worst experience ever. Like trying to copy your deck is like the worst experience ever. You need to like navigate to the character screen and then change your character, find the deck, copy it over. Make sure you don't misclick at any point, by the way, because otherwise it just completely shuts down the process and you need to start again. The way you navigate to the shop and stuff is like really confusing because like there's like a card trader, but like there's also an in-game shop, and like those two are like different things, and nobody really tells you the difference. You kind of just like feel it out yourself, and then The actual main menu is just riddled in adverts and event stuff and announcements. There's just so much stuff just going on everywhere at any given time, all the time, and it's just terrible. The duel log itself, I find, is pretty good in game. It's very easy to go back and check, oh, what does this card do? What does that thing say? But there's multiple points within a duel where you're trying to, like, you know, mid-effect, try and see what's in your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard. There's certain points in the duel where you can't view your opponent's grave or your own grave or something. And that's really bad if, like, this is, like, happening mid-effect. I don't know, limitation of the code, whatever it was that they did. There's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't let you view things depending on what's happening in the middle of the duel, and you can't access the duel log. You can't order chain links, which is really terrible, and I don't know if that's a limitation of the interface or more so the coding. Works fine and wide, Joe Pro, and those guys made that game for free, just saying, I don't know. So yeah, not being able to choose the chain links is very detrimental to some decks. I don't know, I can't think of an example right now, but you can imagine if two effects go off at once, the game decides for you which order they go in, and that can be really big. That can be really huge. Sometimes you get these things called skills that activate. Various characters that you play with have skills. They'll just go off and activate in game, but the duel log, the interface, doesn't tell you what it does. Like, Odeon will say, roleplay sign, and then something will happen, and like you just need to like just deal with it. Like, it doesn't tell you what skills do when they go off. Like, I can understand skills are hidden and you're supposed to discover them because you're not supposed to just know immediately what skill your opponent is using. But like, when it's actually happening, it'd be nice if the game told you what the skill does. That's just really frustrating as a new player and you're new to the meta and you have like a million different skills to take into consideration and memorize, and like, it just doesn't tell you what's happening. There isn't like some kind of like tutorial or something that tells you what everything is. So like, when you first load up into the game and you like pick up keys and you see the gate, like for someone who just starts fresh and is a new player, like that doesn't mean anything. I don't know if it's changed now, but at least on my account when I first started playing, I don't remember there ever being some kind of explanation like what's a key, like what's a UR jewel, what's an SR jewel, what's the purpose of the gate, what's the difference between level 10 and 40 other than difficulty. Apparently you get different drop rates and stuff. What's a drop thing? Like, all of these things just never are told to you, and you just kind of like either have to Google it all or learn it yourself, which I don't mind the idea of like discovering things, but it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. It's not Final Fantasy. Like, if I'm playing an actual RPG game or something, I can understand that you need to discover things yourself. Like, that's the whole point of the game, is the journey of discovering things. But like, is that really what they're trying to do with Duel Links? Because like, I really don't think like there's too much of an expansive game for you to try and shelter and hide certain things from players in order for us to try and discover what the red key does compared to the blue gate key. Like, just what is it for? You know, like I don't think like that. It's like keeping it secret is beneficial. Okay, so that does it for the interface. Now the next part, and this is probably one of the most important sections of my critique of Duel Links, and that's going to be the multiple currencies in Hearthstone, which is a game that I've been playing recently. I feel like they do that perfectly. I think they've got currency down to a T, right? So there's two currencies. There's gold that you use to purchase everything and anything, and then your cards can be made into dust, and the dust can be used to make cards. Two currencies. In Duel Links, there's like four. There's like gold, there's keys, there's gems, your most important one, and then there's like 6 different jewels or something of different rarities. Gold is a bit of a meme in Duel Links. Even avid Duel Links players like know that gold is a meme. It doesn't do anything really for the most part. You can get some crappy cards from the card trader. Most of your currency comes from gems, and that's capped to a certain amount you can get per month unless you want to pay. Yeah, that's just like this like, as a new player, like trying to figure out like, okay, I go to the card trader and I need like some keys as well as jewels, which by the way I figured out that's basically Hearthstone's equivalent of dust. If you destroy an ultra rare, you can use the ultra rare jewel to obtain an ultra rare from the card trader. And you see, the problem is the card trader doesn't sell anything good. Like 9 times out of 10, all the card traders cards and decks and stuff that they have are just garbage, just worthless. Like really, really bad. You know, unlike Hearthstone, where it's like if I destroy, you know, 3 ultra rares, I can make an ultra rare that I actually want. Now I'll talk about obtaining cards in a different section, but that's something that's really frustrating about Duel Links. It's just how many different currencies there are, how meaningful gems are in comparison to gold, which is useless. Like, there isn't like some kind of balance, there isn't some kind of explanation for why there's different currencies. It's kind of just there for like the sake of it. Like, you need keys to do the gates, and then the keys can be used to get some cards, and then some cards break down into jewels, and then those jewels can be used to make other cards, but only those cards that are available at the card trader. It's a mess. Like, it's a real mess. Like, I don't see why they couldn't have just stuck to gems and maybe gold, and that's it, and then make gold like useful. Like, something like that would have been good in my opinion, but I guess they just decided to go for this model. The currency itself, the main currency, gems, like, if you're going to be playing this free to play, the vast majority of your gems going to come from like PvE content, and a lot of it is monotonous, a lot of it is super boring, but I'll get into that later. So you have to grind it manually, and there is a very, very, like, I don't want to say bad incentive to PvP, but like, if your purpose is only to get gems, like, you're not going to get a lot from PvP. I believe like 0 to King of Games, you get the equivalent of like, I want to say like 1 ultra rare in gems or something, right? Like King of Games, that's like the be all end all title. I don't even know what the demographic is for that. It must be like top like 5% of Duel Links players can get King of Games or something. And the reward you get there is like, I think Legend to King of Games literally gives you like 200 gems or something like that. I don't know, something just inconsequentially small and worthless. Basically, TLDR, PvP doesn't give you any kind of incentive to grind if you're only looking for gems. The PvP is literally there if you just want to get some titles. So the game itself, that doesn't reward PvP very well at all. It rewards farming gates monotonously with optimal farm strategies, like this dumb vassal combo that Phoenix showed me that apparently helps you get 9,000 score at the end of every duel. Every duel, by the way, you can get scored. So I'll talk about that in the PvE section, but yeah, like that's basically the optimal way to get gems and stuff is by doing certain boring farming, or you can go through and do all the duel quizzes and all the duel loner deck things, which are limited, and once you do them, they're done. They never come respawn or something, so that's basically, you know, I guess you get like 2,000 gems or something from all of those, and they take a while for the loner deck duels. I mean, because you're just dueling and dueling and dueling. Even if you win every single one, like it still takes time to like beat like 50 different decks, right? It's still gonna take you like 2 days or something of gameplay. So obtaining currency, I feel is terrible in the game. My biggest issue overall with the currency is that you can't crush the cards into making them into better cards. Like I said, in Hearthstone, if you pull a bunch of cards you don't like, you can like crush like 3 legendaries and then you can make a legendary or something, right? In Duel Links, you can crush your cards down, but you can only get cards from the card trader. Like, I don't see why I can't just get rid of, like, I have 6 Bujingi Cranes, by the way, and 1 Phalanx, like, from the new set. I dumped like 200 or something into the new set. Thank you, stream. Shoutouts to you guys for helping me build Blackwings. So I built the Blackwing deck. I got 6 Cranes and 1 Phalanx. You know, why can't I just like destroy, let's say, like all of my Cranes, because I don't want to play Bujins. Why can't I just crush all of my 6 Bujingi Cranes and just get 1 Phalanx? You can't do that. Like, you need to keep buying the new set until you get the cards you need. I find that a very, very terrible method of obtaining cards, because it's like, yeah, I understand they got to make money, and it's like, well, you know, I'm spending money. I am giving you money, but like, you want me to spend an even more absurd amount just so I can get like a playset of a card instead of like this, you know, I just so happen to get unlucky and, you know, get 6 Cranes. Yeah, I think that the fact that there's no dusting system in Duel Links is a huge, huge detriment to the game itself. Now, let's go into PvE here and talk about the actual dueling that you do outside of, you know, the ranked duels, which is going to be a lot of your time. So for PvE, there's stages. And there's multiple ways to get up the stages here. I can't seem to figure out the purpose of stages. Like, I personally grinded it because it's good for getting gems. Like, going up the stages is good for getting gems. But, you know, if you're willing to dump the money, and I don't see the point of the stages. I think certain gates unlock at level 40 or something, and then that gives you more ways to grind. It's basically this endless treadmill. But yeah, going up stages I find to be very tedious, because it's not a case of like, you know, win X amount of duels, although a lot of the quests are just, you know, beat this character this many times, or win this many duels, or deal this amount of damage. But sometimes you get things where it's like tribute summon 5 times. And it's like, what if I haven't built a tribute summon deck? Like, if I'm a free-to-play player, I then have to go and build a deck that relies on tribute summoning in order to do this. You know, like one of my quests recently was like deal 30,000 points of burn damage. Like and then I need to go and build a burn deck, like just to do this quest and move up in the stage. Otherwise, I'm just locked at stage 23 or whatever permanently because I can't do burn damage. Like I have like red medicine or something. Wait, that doesn't burn. I don't know. Like I have to like draw and resolve Uzaki like 600 times in order to get through that stage. So it forces you to go out and buy with your free-to-play like grinded gems. It forces you to go and get those cards just to advance in the stage. I find that really terrible. I think that's really bad design. Like, well, it's genius design actually, because you just need to go buy more cards, right? It's very big brain, like huge IQ, Konami. But I found it very tedious and very annoying. And to be honest, I just stopped grinding the stages. Like, I personally, if I'm willing to buy the deck straight up, I don't see what the purpose is with the stages for me. Like, there's no benefit for me, other than, I guess, you know, I'm missing out on some gems or a level 40 gate, which I haven't unlocked yet, because what's the point? I can just play the best deck without having to do all the boring PvE stuff. Which, I guess, is my next point. PvE is far too important compared to PvP. Like, I don't see why there aren't some kind of PvP jams, like, maybe, like, once a day you log in, it says, like, get a 3 duel win streak or something, and it gives you, like, a big bulk of gems or something like that. Why can't the stage missions be performed in a PvP setting? Why doesn't PvP just give you more gems if you hit King of Games or rank up and stuff like that? I find like the lack of reliance on PvP and the lack of incentive on PvP like really sad. And I don't know, maybe it's because like they don't want to force people to PvP because they'll go to PvP, lose because they suck, and then get frustrated and quit the game. Like, that's the only logical reason I can think why there's such a bad reliance on PvP in Duel Links. Conspiracy theory? Tinfoil penguin activate? I don't know. So I hate that you have to like basically build like optimal farm decks and stuff, which on the one hand is kind of cool because you need to like have multiple decks for multiple scenarios, but that's only fun if obtaining the cards wasn't a complete nightmare, you know? Like, that's the issue. And let's move on to this section and talk about it overall. Obtaining cards. Like, I've mentioned the dusting system, I've mentioned how that's terrible. But another thing that's really, really poor here is that a box from 2 years ago is going to cost the exact same as the latest box that just came out 2 days ago. And that's really bad as a new player, by the way. Like, this is the worst thing about the pay-to-win paywall that Duel Links has for new players especially. If you haven't been playing since the start and dumping, like, you know, all of your gems every single month, grinding basically every day since release, you're going to have no good cards when you first start the game if you start today. You're not going to have Wall Disruption, you're not going to have Econs, you're not going to have Cosmics, you're not going to have Galaxies, you're not going to have Hatrunades, you're not going to have Floodgate Trap Hole, you're not going to have Canadias, you're not going to have so many amazing staples in this game. You're going to have to go back and try and farm the gems, or just simply straight up buy old packs that cost the exact same. And I find that terrible. I think that's so bad. Like, it's really the worst thing ever. Like, having to go back, like, if I want a playset of gosh, I don't know, what's the oldest like good staple currently, like Wall of Disruption, I think that was like in the second set or something. Like, I need to go back and grind or buy the old set for the exact same price the new set costs. Like, that is, I can't even describe how terrible and dumb that is. Because not only is the fact that the way the boxes work dreadful, which I guess I'll explain now for those of you who aren't aware, the way boxes work in Duel Links is that it's not like real life boxes where you have a chance of getting a card and you just have to keep buying the box over and over again, because that would be unsustainable in Duel Links, because, you know, people would end up buying the box 20 times and still not pull one of the card they're looking for. So they realized that that was never going to work, but I'm surprised they didn't try it anyway. Anyway, so the way it works is that you get a box and it has 180 packs in the box. If you wipe out the entire box and spend all of the money required to buy out the whole box, you will get one copy of every single card in the set. Or multiple sets, because like I think there's like 3 you can pull of a rare, for example. Sometimes you get like 2 of the supers, etc, etc. But basically, there's always going to be like 1 ultra. So the way it works is like you could open a pack, just 1 pack out of the new box, brand new, and you get the ultra you need. So you spent 50 gems, 5 gems. So you spent basically nothing, like £1. You spent £1 getting that pack, and you got the ultra you need. Congratulations, well done. Now you can reset the box And basically what resetting the box means is that it just, well, resets. That there's nothing pulled anymore. It's like fresh, and you have to start that process again. On the flip side, like me, your vampire retainer, the super rare, could be the very last pack in that box. So 179 packs you need to buy with the gems or real money in order to get that vampire retainer. And there you go. Yeah, enjoy 179 useless packs you didn't want just to get that vampire retainer. That's what I had to do for my vampire retainer. So if I'm trying to go back and get wall disruptions, I'm going to end up with all of these awful unplayable, and when I say unplayable, I mean unplayable. Like some of the cards in old sets that have one good staple are just dreadful. And I find it really unfair that you're forced to go and buy or grind an old box just for a staple card when they could have like the ticket system that they use in game, which is every event or so sometimes you can get tickets, which basically mean you can trade an ultra rare ticket for the ultra rare you need. Oh my god, this is genius. Why couldn't you do this with the dusting system? But the problem is like, it's not any ultra in the game with this ticket. I can understand if they didn't let you trade the ultra rare ticket for the most recent set, maybe the most recent 3 sets, but why can't I buy an ultra from a year ago? Like, there's no reason why I can't buy an ultra from the very first set in the game with the ultra rare ticket, with the super rare ticket, you know, with these things. Why is it that I can't do that? It's really frustrating, it's really annoying, and I think that that's the biggest issue, especially for new players. Because like, when I first started playing, people, you know, suggested, oh, you know, I was like, you know, what's a good free-to-play deck for me starting out and stuff, and people said, like, oh, Glad Beasts are super cheap. Yeah, the Glad Beast core is really cheap, but Glad Beasts are only good because of their back row. And they didn't mention that, hey, by the way, the only reason you're going to be good with Glad Beasts is because of the back row you play. Oh, okay, how do I get the back row? Well, it's an ultra rare in this set, it's a super rare in that set, it's another ultra in that set, and it's like, oh, okay, well, at that point, I might as well just play a tier 0 deck, right? Because it's going to work out the same price, you know? So even like these, even that's the thing, like even like the rogue fun decks are like not good unless you can get the staples. And the staples are expensive. Oh, it's just like the TCG. Wow, we've come full circle, guys. We've really come full circle. We really actually are out here. My review in just one sentence, it's that Duel Links is a great game hidden behind a massive paywall. It's really, really fun. I love being able to just play like a watered down version of TCG, to play like, I guess, a bit of a slower game, and just, it's all just a bit of dumb fun. It really is just a bit of dumb fun, because like, you can honestly do well with basically any deck if you're willing to put the money in and get the staples. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what's really frustrating about it. It's like, it's such a fun game, and it's just so expensive, especially if you're starting out new, because like, you know, the staples issue that I mentioned. Yeah, great game, let down by its pay to win method. But I guess that's the case in every card game. I don't know. I just feel like Hearthstone did it perfectly. You know, all the boring PvE content, all the terrible, like, badly designed like duel quizzes and leveling up stage missions, like all of that can be excused if we could just make the cards we need. And that's really the biggest issue I find with Duel Links, is like obtaining those cards is terrible. If you're someone who enjoys deck building more than gameplay, this game is not for you, because like you literally, like, you can't like have fun building decks, because you're gonna be so frustrated with how you just can't obtain some cards. Like, it's not gonna be fun for you. Like, getting some cards is just impossible. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you follow me on Twitch at FarfaYGO, join the Discord /Farfa, follow my Twitter FarfaYGO, subscribe, comment, like, bottom text. Until next time, Master Peace.